We finally made it. We opened up a Patreon. Social media has been insane lately. People don't see what they actually want to see. They get exposed to a ton of things that they don't want to be seeing. So we decided to move away and put all our eggs into the Patreon basket, where we believe that perhaps connected with Discord, we can truly create a safe little community where it's okay to share with like-minded individuals some knowledge, network, ask some questions, and it will allow us to really nurture our audience inside Patreon. Exclusive giveaways, discount codes for merch drops, behind the scenes content, polls, Q&As. That's just the base and the beginning. Let's see where we go from here. Head now to patreon.com/Hola Pato. Check the different tiers we've created. We have an entry-level one that for around $1 the episode will allow you to be there in the mix and enjoy some of the advantages. And if you have a little bit more money, it will help us obviously more, and it will give you better chances to win prizes, more access to more things. Again, patreon.com/Hola Pato, and we'll see you there. A few days ago, I'm at the studio and I'm showing around one of the guest artists, kind of explaining him everything that he needs to know for the studio. And I have that mental checklist the same way that we explain aftercare, after an appointment. And I was just, without even asking, explaining how to send to print from the iPad and blah, blah. And the guest artist says like, oh, I don't use an iPad, I just draw by hand and then make photocopies. And I swear to God that I almost started crying and gave him a hug. I realized that every day I'm more isolated when it comes to that topic. I, believe it or not, have never, ever tried even an iPad. I draw everything, every single drawing by hand. Granted, then I edit a little bit in Photoshop, but mostly only adjust the contrast so that I can print and it registers properly to do the stencil. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if I'm, not so technological, or I'm a fucking contrarian, or I'm too attached to the idea of having a physical drawing for every piece that I've tattooed. I think probably that's where it started. And I don't know that is now the only reason. Perhaps it's because I kind of, search for excuses to convince myself to not transition. But I have figured out that a lot of the way that I work, and I'm not talking so much about the way I draw or prep the designs or whatnot, but even the way I tattoo is very influenced by the fact that I don't use an iPad, or maybe not so much at the stage where I am in my career. I could maybe transition and it would not change so much the foundation of what I do and how I approach tattooing. But I have the feeling that the newer generation has such a different approach to a lot of things, and I keep on finding at the end of every pathway the iPad as probably one of the main causes of why they do things a certain way. And I say one of many because I think perhaps the biggest one is how, the sensibility with sizing has changed due to Instagram, because things are, they work in a smaller size, and massive back pieces full of details, they're no longer that impressive on social, so people don't give it so much love, and it has kind of shifted the mentality of a lot of tattooers. I mean, who was doing back pieces for a lifetime before even social media was around will continue to do so, but it has informed a lot the decisions that younger tattooers have made as for in which direction to go based on what they expect out of a tattoo. And what they expect out of a tattoo is engagement, is likes, is people bookmarking the work and this tracking and transforming into more appointments and whatnot. So I don't know, social media is for sure a huge part of it, but I totally believe that iPads have forever changed the way tattooers approach many things, and especially I would say placement. I think iPads don't take into account the third dimension. I have the feeling that a lot of the problems that I see with tattooers when they work with me is that they don't take advantage of the fact that the body has depth and is a three-dimensional shape. They project ideas and concepts only in pictures, so they know that it's gonna flow vertically like this or it's gonna go horizontally like this. They never have the tools to understand how this line that goes all the way around in the stomach is gonna curve and warp around the rib cage or around the waist, or they don't have the ability or the experience to know that this amazing long line in a back piece is gonna shrink down the minute it doesn't go straight like this and flat as if it would be a two-dimensional shape, but it actually goes deeper into the lower back and then it comes out again, as it transitions into the buttocks. Buttocks? What am I, fucking 5? Into the butt. Into the ass, fuck. God damn it. So yeah, the depth and how to utilize volume, not only to have tattoos flow nicer in the body, but also to have designs be enhanced by the way they wrap around certain body parts, is something that when I apply, and I don't know, I mean, I studied sculpture, but I didn't finish, and I didn't do it for long enough that it gave me some sort of crazy insight and advantage over the rest of the world. So maybe there's something to the fact that I studied sculpture, but I don't think so. But in any case, when I search for placements, I can see the brains of younger tattooers around me explode because they never thought about, the way you place a portrait can kind of make the face, come to life, or the way you need to adjust optically certain proportions of pieces so that they come out when you apply them for real on a stencil as you projected them on the two-dimensional picture, right? Another thing that iPads cannot fucking do for the life of them is take into account movement. Again, if you design over a picture, you don't really take into account what's gonna happen when the body moves, or what's gonna happen when, not even the person that has the tattoo moves, but the viewer moves and walks 2 steps in one direction or 2 steps into the other direction. Is then still that beautiful perspective that you had on the arm kind of going back? Does it look stupid when I look like this? It looks like one arm of the character is just like shrunken and kind of broken. I see a lot of people kind of getting that phase of shock as they see the stencil applied, almost as if they would be rolling the dice. They've been prepping the design, they know exactly how it should look from that one perspective that they had the photo from. They worked way too much on the iPad, asking for tiny adjustments to make sure that it looks right on the picture, and then they are either unable to translate that into reality, or I can see them kind of crossing their fingers and going like, roll the dice, I hope this works, as if they would be unable to really imagine how this is gonna look once it's applied to the body, right? iPads don't really respect, or I mean, I say iPads because it's the most common tool, but if you, I guess you could say the same about just working using Photoshop, right? But when you work, when you multiply in layers and you just, overlap your design into a body, a lot of the body limits are not respected, or at least taken into account, right? And I think that's what created this accidental phenomenon of tattoos that flow from one body part into the other one. For example, things that go from the rib cage and then they move to the arm, or from one leg to the other leg. And granted, is a nice effect. I think it might be, it's very of the now, and I think it might be a result of people just multiplying the design, and before they can rescale and adjust it to the leg, they go like, whoa, look how it looks between both legs. So, one could say that maybe is a good thing that came out of iPads, but I think this is not really taking into account, again, movement, right? What happens when the legs are not that connected to one another? And will you always run around with a design that makes no sense? And for it to make sense, when people look at you and go like, huh, what is that? And you have to go like, wait, let me assume the position that I had in the picture that the tattooer used to design this. Hop, legs together, or like arms in that position. Does that make sense? It's like these continuing designs in which a group of friends or a couple need to go into a stupid position for the design to be completed. And I mean, when it's abstract things, you go like, okay, it's I can see it has more value when it's connected, but when it's isolated sections of it, it also looks kind of cool. But when it's an image that only when completed makes sense, that's just stupid. Printedmin, everyone, our good old friends from Printedmin. Printedmin is a print-on-demand company that specializes in dropshipping. If you're like me and you don't yet know what print-on-demand means, it's actually the most comfortable way of running your merch operation. Printedmin allows you to choose from over 300 products that you can personalize with your own design and add to your online store. Once an order has been placed, Printedmin takes care of printing it for you. That way you don't need to invest in a huge inventory and take any unnecessary risks. Oh, and the best thing, Printedmin doesn't have an order minimum because they understand that you have to start somewhere before you can grow your business. But you know what? That's not all. Printedmin also takes care of packaging each order with your custom branding, stores the order for you, and even ships it directly to your customer. Say goodbye to all your headaches, not only of printing, but also of stocking, storing, and delivering your products. Visit printedmin.com or use the link in the description below. Our new sponsor, Cake, is finally here, and I'm gonna try not to laugh because I'm 12. I'm really excited about this one. I don't know that I've told the story ever, but do you guys know how I met my wife? The day I arrived to Berlin, I was supposed to crash on a friend's couch, and his roommate opened the door and gave me the biggest hug. And that coming from a German girl, crazy. That was it for me. We've been together ever since. That was, 12 years ago? Do you want to know what has kept us going all these years? What's the key to a happy marriage? Communication. It's actually communication. But something that definitely helps is keeping things fun in the bedroom. That can never harm, right? But how can you do that after so many years when life gets complicated and you're exhausted and frankly out of shape? Well, Cake has you covered. Cake is on a mission to help the world have more fun sex with their awesome products tailored to helping couples try something new, fun, and different every single time. But not only they help you and your partner, Cake also has your back when you need some me time with formulations toys, and specialty products designed to try a specific new sexual experience every time you go on a date with yourself. Visit hellocake.com or use the link in the description below to find out why 84% of their customers directly attribute cake products to a better sex life. That's hellocake.com. The other thing I feel maybe got too easy with iPads is the fact of how easy you can zoom in and out, right? Like zoom in, add details, zoom out. Zoom in, add details, zoom out. And that ends removing your sense of what is the 1:1 scale, right? If you spend half of the time too far looking at it and then too much in, you lose sense of what is the actual real scale of that drawing. So I can see a lot of people struggling to keep details, not at a bare minimum, but to keep details at a I don't know, appropriate level for the size they're working in, right? And I think that is definitely as a result of using the iPad. It's so easy to puzzle up things and to modify things that it makes it way too fun to fit pieces in the perfect way, which is almost, representing the extinction of accidental negative spaces in bodysuits, right? Which I feel are instrumental to be able to play with the fourth dimension when it comes to placement. I sometimes like to use empty space to almost indicate that a design is in motion, going to occupy that space, right? It feels almost like it's an animation, a projection on your body, and that we just froze the frame a few seconds before it reached its place, right? So I like a lot to kind of determine where the perfect spot would be, and then depending on what's the subject matter, have it, rewind that animation a few seconds before it goes there, and it makes it slightly off place, and it makes it stand out from all the pieces around, right? So it makes that when someone goes and looks at it, they go like, I cannot take the eyes of that boat. It should be kind of there, but it's not yet there. And if it's done the right way, it doesn't feel like it's an accident or a mistake. It just feels like your brain is moving it on its own almost. So you see it almost like a mirage. Like, is that boat actually moving? I feel like the more I stare at it, the closer it gets to the goal. That's your brain tricking you, right? So I feel using empty spaces is really important. I think those, when you're just toying around and you can move things too easy and you can rescale them and tilt them too easy, you tend to just play Tetris with pieces, and they come a little bit too close to one another. So I don't know. Overall, I think iPads are obviously amazing. It has allowed a whole generation to come up with their own new sensibility when it comes to placement. And on top of that, I feel like there's a really healthy compromise between custom and flash. Back in the day, it was either you take my flash or I draw, like a robot for you, whatever you want, the size you tell me. And I have the feeling newer generations are so fast at modifying their flash that they've created this hybrid between flash and custom, like customized flash or whatever, that allows them to like redraw or just chop and patchwork different things from their catalog, and they became way more open to reworking flash with the clients, which I think is a great thing, and it allows them to not have to be so precious with their pre-drawn pieces, right? But I don't know. I ask myself also if perhaps the iPad was not only instrumental to inform the way tattooers place things nowadays, but if it was also instrumental to introduce the idea of layering, right? Could that or would that have happened in such a fast and organic way if it wasn't because of having a whole generation of people just dumping a design on top of a picture of someone that has a bodysuit and going like, oh, wait a minute, that looks kind of dope like this, and playing around? Maybe the idea of layering up was also, was also way faster spreading because of iPads. And if iPads were such a key, such an important key to potentially the biggest new phenomenon that we've seen in tattooing over the past maybe 5 years or so, which is layered up suits, what will be the next piece of technology that will create that next step? Will AI picture generators have such a massive impact on tattooing? Right now it looks like it's just a weird little thing that allows some tattooers to make gimmicky experiments. But I still remember the first version of Procreate and the beginning of iPads, and people were like, oh, you're gonna be much faster drawing and whatever. But all these things of how would it change forever the way they see placement and the way they observe the body, the way they've created, designs that are scattered throughout the body and that you need to assume a certain position for them to be completed. All these things were impossible to predict at the beginning of iPads being out. So if right now there's this freaky thing out, how is it called? Like Cheapitty? Oh, fuck, I'm so out of it. I don't know. The whatever AI drawing thing is that you prompt, I cannot even begin to imagine, not even with my sci-fi hat on, what will be the ramifications of the aesthetics that this can have in as little as 3 to 5 years. I don't know, really interesting thing to follow up. The fucking, apocalypse of tattooing. The machines take over. Enough for today. I think that's all the time we have, and more. I've gone past like always. Yeah, you know the drill. Patreon, subscribe, support, share, comment, give us a like. You can get the new merch at my online store, and that's it. I'll see you guys next week.